Standard 9th, Subject History, Chapter number 3, India's Internal Challenges. Now we will be going ahead. Naxalism. The Naxalite movement. This movement started at Naxalbari in Darjeeling district in West Bengal. Mark it up as an MCQ for 1 mark. The Naxalites organized the small land holding farmers. They brought together the farmers who were holding small parcels of land and land laborers, the laborers who were working on those lands, and took charge of their lands, put up red flags and declared that area as free territory in 1967. They captured all the lands of the small land holding farmers and they controlled the land laborers. They took charge, the Naxalites took charge of their lands and they put up red flags. Red flags was a symbol of Naxalism. And they declared that area as a free territory. This happened in 1967. All those movements that took inspiration from this rebellion are called Naxalite movements. If a short note is asked about Naxalite movement, this paragraph will be the answer. The movement had the objectives. Why was the movement done? The objective was of establishing action committees to raise a voice against the exploitation of farmers by the landlords and confiscate the land of the landlords and distribute it among the tenants. For example, any person holding a large parcel of land, he has laborers working on that land for farming. Now this Naxalite movement had started because they felt that the laborers were being exploited, were being taken undue advantage of because of their dependence on the landlords. So this Naxalite movement, what they were doing? The Naxalites, they were grabbing the land from the landlords and distributing the land to the laborers, the tenants who were staying there on rent. Later, the movement strayed away from its objectives. As time passed, the main reason of starting this Naxalite movement was wiped out, was forgotten, and they took a different turn. It took recourse to terrorism now. Now they started using terrorism as the tactic to scare the local people, the common people and the government. Why did it do like this? To prevent any government schemes and welfare policies from reaching the common people. The Naxalites now wanted the common people to remain dependent on them. When the government started acting for the welfare of these people, they stopped the welfare schemes from reaching the people. The Naxalites started a parallel system, a parallel government, by rejecting the democratic system. They wanted their own government system to get established. This made Naxalism a serious challenge to India's internal security because they were challenging the government policies, the government laws, and they wanted to have their own parallel system. The movement was mainly located in West Bengal. Later, the movement spread to East Godavari in Andhra Pradesh, parts of Visakhapatnam, Karimnagar in Telangana, Adilabad, Bastar, Rajnandangao and Sukma in Chhattisgarh, Gadchiroli, Bhandara and parts of Chandrapur in Maharashtra, Balaghat and Mandala in Madhya Pradesh and Koraput in Odisha. In order to maintain their influence, in order to have control over the public and over the lands, the Naxalites established an organization called PLGA, People's Liberation Guerrilla Army. This conflict is not over. This conflict is still going on. India is still fighting Naxalism and the result is nowhere to be seen. We still need to keep on fighting against the Naxalite movement. Moving on to communalism. Communalism is a serious threat to the unity of our country. India is a country which finds respect and which is proud of its various communal system. Various communities stay together in unity. Communalism emerges out of narrow religious pride. When people belonging to a particular religion, when they feel that their religion is the only one which is above the other religion, communalism emerges. When did it start? How did it start? Where did it start? Yes, the people who ruled India are to be blamed. The British sowed the seeds of communalism in our country. India was a peace-loving country, is a peace-loving country, but the seeds of communalism were sowed in our minds by the Britishers. People of different religions have happily lived together since many centuries. There is nothing wrong in people of different religions living together in a country while being duly proud of their own respective religion. But when this pride becomes excessive, then it turns into bigotry. Bigotry means considering their own religion superior and others' religion inferior, and this leads to religious fanaticism. They only want their own religion to stay on earth. Rest of the religions they want to be wiped out. Fanaticism is the base of communalism. It makes one oblivious of national interest. It makes one forget the national interest. People of different religions don't trust each other. This is what happens. They become suspicious of each other. Compatriots, people of the same country following different religions, are looked at as enemies. Even commensality or coming together on festivals becomes rare. People start staying away from each other. They stop coming in contact or talking to each other, and as a result it becomes difficult for everybody to come together and get organized for their demands and rights as citizens. This results in their own loss. Fanaticism makes the perspective of looking at events and people prejudiced. There is a set frame of thoughts, set line of thinking that people of this particular religion is never to be trusted. People of this particular religion are always our enemies. This line of thought makes people look at the events from a different perspective. Sometimes such tactics are used by the politicians to gain an advantage in the elections. Some people begin to think of economic and social questions also in the framework of their own religion. So every economic problem or every social question, they start thinking on it only depending on their religion. They have no influence in politics. Some people of all religions think that since they belong to a particular religion, they have no influence in politics. They now start thinking that they have been taken undue advantage of because they are from a particular religion. They are not allowed to enjoy their rights. They are not allowed to enjoy their freedom because they belong to a particular religion. They begin to believe that they are being treated unjustly. They hold the idea that government is now partial against their religion. In such a condition, they become too sensitive about their religion and their co-religionists. They now become intolerant. They are unable to tolerate anything against their own community. If anybody speaks about the people of their religion or insults the religious symbols knowingly or unknowingly, riots break out. Why? Because of this kind of thinking. Hundreds of innocent people are killed. Now please remember, whenever riots happen, it's not necessary that people of only a particular religion get killed or people of only the opposite religion get killed. Their own people also get killed. There is a loss of life, there is a loss of property, and there is a loss of opportunity. The same time, the same efforts, the same money could have been used for a proper and a better advancement of the society. Public property worth crores of rupees is damaged. Public peace is destroyed. Due to the bitter memories of the riots, people are estranged from each other. They hate each other. Mutual trust receives a setback. They no longer want to see each other's face. They no longer trust each other. They no longer want to talk to each other. They no longer want to go to each other's houses or take part in each other's festivities.